All right, today we're talking about the changing face of marketing and how to organize the chaos of the marketing world, how to make sense of it all in today's day and era where marketing is more important than ever. My guest today is Brennah Davis. I'll tell you more about her in a second, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders and ask them how they built key relationships to get where they are today. Now, let's get started with the show.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host of this show. And every week we have smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs from all kinds of companies. And if you check out the archives, we've got Netflix and Grubhub and Gusto, Redfin, Kinko's, YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard. Lots of great episodes for you to check out. And of course, this episode brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses to give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that by helping you to run your podcast and content marketing. I believe that everyone should have a podcast. My guest today is launching a podcast, which is awesome. And we do that by helping to be the easy button for you. So if you want to start a podcast in your B2B business, go to our website at rise25.com and we're happy to help. You can also email our team at support@rise25.com. All right. Our guest today, Brennah Davis, she's the founder of the Marketing Matchmakers, where she serves as a dedicated advocate for businesses that are seeking marketing agency partners. She has over 10 years of experience running a marketing company herself. So she has that background and she's witnessed firsthand the recurring frustrations that clients face, that businesses face, such as overpromising to misaligned expectations, misrepresented capabilities, that sort of thing. And so she created a new business model where she helps to match companies with marketing companies that are a good fit. So it's really interesting, and we're going to dive into that. But first, Brennah, such a pleasure to have you here today. You grew up in a neck of the woods that I'm familiar with, Northern California,
Yeah.
outside of Sacramento. And unlike me, though, you grew up with lots of entrepreneurs around you. Your father was a general contractor. Your mom had an architecture firm. You have all these parents around you that were entrepreneurs. So what was that like for you? Were you just kind of like an expectation that I'm going to own my business one day and not be an employee? What was that like?
I don't think my parents ever had that expectation. My parents are very supportive of following your dream. They've been so supportive of each of me and my siblings to follow our dreams. There was never an expectation, but it was all that I knew, right? So I saw the hustle, I saw the grind, I saw the ups and downs of the markets and how it caused stress in our family and things like that. But I think that's all I ever knew. And I also saw the benefits of owning your own business and what that's like. So I had parents that were very involved in my life due to them being
That's impressive
entrepreneurs.
too. And that's impressive too, because, I witnessed firsthand, because I was an attorney practicing law during the big economic recession. And you said your father's general contractor, your mom's an architecture. So a lot of businesses that were over-indexed on real estate got pummeled during that time. Was that a really difficult time for your family?
It was very difficult, but I think my parents did a really good job of sheltering us as children to know what the stresses that they had going on. I think as adults, we now understand and are very grateful for our parents keeping us in the dark and just being there for us in all the capacity that they were.
Yeah. And you also had an experience where when you turned 12, your parents basically put you on a budget, said like, okay, here's what it's going to cost to raise you from here on out. Here's your money. And that kind of inspired you to start working at a young age to pay for nice things that you wanted to have. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So once I turned 12, it was each of my siblings, once we turned 12, we got our age times 10 and we were responsible to buy our birthday presents for our friends. We were responsible to pay for our movie ticket. If we went to the mall and wanted to buy clothes that were outside of, new school stuff that my parents would provide, like new shoes and things. But it was just out of the ordinary things that we just wanted. We were fully responsible for it. And it taught me a lot to budget. And then once I turned 16 and had a car, I then was like, well, I want to spend more money on gas to see my friends and I want to buy nice things. So I took 3 jobs in high school just so
Wow.
that I could kind of do whatever I wanted in that sense of having the money and financial freedom to buy what I wanted when I wanted.
Yeah. So how do you end up starting your first company then after that experience? Was it just kind of something you figured you'd always do?
I, I had it, I went to art school. I went to a private art school in Los Angeles for college, and I went to school to be a painter, realized that I did not want to paint for anybody, that it was just not my calling. It was a hobby that I loved for me. And then from there, I decided to go be a graphic designer, and I loved doing it. So I imagined having an agency, and I ended up marrying a man who was in the film and television business, and he very much wanted to own an agency. So when the time came that it worked out, we started our own agency, and it was kind of just him and me helping. And I was the director of marketing for a real estate company at the time. And so I did part time with our agency, he did full time. And then as soon as the opportunity arose that I would be full time with the agency, I was full time, and we grew it to have 27 people.
Wow. So it was big.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It was
then
awesome.
and then you get divorced.
I did.
And so what happened in what order with the agency? How did you manage getting divorced and also splitting this agency that you're running together?
Yeah, so the divorce, we dissolved the agency during the divorce, and that was very hard on me just because I loved all our clients and I loved my team, and it definitely took a toll on me. But I was still so passionate about helping people, and that agency that I had with my ex-husband was a full service agency. We were in Canada, Cayman Islands, here in the States, and we serviced businesses all across the United States. And we were a yes man company. And from that, I learned so much. I think that there was a fire every day where it was like flying by the seat of my pants, trying to figure it out, just hustling. And someone would say yes to something. I'm like, we've never done that. Like, what are we saying yes to? And so it was very stressful, and there was a lot of anxiety. And when I dissolved it, I really reassessed what I loved doing and what I was good at. So
Wait,
from that,
before we get to that, can I ask one
yeah,
clarifying question?
yeah,
I've been to the Cayman Islands before. It
okay.
is amazing. It is beautiful. How does one set up an office in the Cayman Islands? Just asking
Well,
theoretically here.
yes, of course. So we had a client that there was a client here in Arizona that they sold the business, and they ended up their wife was from the Cayman Islands, and so they ended up moving their whole family to the Cayman Islands and took a job there. And the owner of the company that they worked for, they ended up telling the owner
Tell
about
you.
our business and asked us to move there. And at first, I was like, no, no way. And they finally gave an offer that like we just couldn't refuse. So we ended up moving there and starting our own marketing agency there,
Wow.
and had, I want to say, about 20 clients on island.
Hmm.
So it's definitely not easy. I will tell you that, as far as getting a business on that island and living there. But it was
Which is
definitely an
funny
amazing
because
experience.
like I remember we went on a cruise there. I remember walking off the ship and there's people handing you leaflets about like how to set up a bank account in the Cayman Islands, right? Like it's like that thing. And so it's funny to hear that it was difficult to set up a business there
It's
because it seems like
much
it would be easy.
harder. It's much harder than you think.
Yeah.
Way harder than you think. But it was an experience that I'm very grateful for. And I also learned a lot from, because the Cayman Islands is so far behind in marketing. So when we were doing marketing on island, it was so easy because nobody had done online advertising.
Hmm.
There's no such thing as every door direct mail. Like, they just started credit card transactions. Like,
Okay.
it was
Yeah, yeah.
insane.
Yeah, yeah. That's always great, right? It's like taking knowledge you have from somewhere else and then bringing it to a new place that doesn't have that
Yeah.
knowledge, then you're suddenly the wizard. So then, all right, so getting back to the topic of you are trying to decide what you want to do next, and you have this
Yeah.
experience of running this agency, you're stressed out by all the fires you're all having to put out every day. And so what do you do?
I knew that if push came to shove, I could do anything design wise. So I was like, I want to be a design firm. And then at the time, met this gentleman he very much aligned with my values as a person. And I was going through my divorce and I approached him and said, hey, I don't know what's going to happen to my agency, but I have these amazing clients that I love and adore. And I can just tell by who you are as a person that you really care. And I wanted to know if I need to transfer clients, are you open to having clients, or do you have capacity? And what is your expertise? And so we had that conversation, and his response was not what I expected, which was, let me think about it. And I was like, oh, okay. So he came back about
people are like, yeah, I'll take your clients.
Right.
Yeah.
He came back 2 weeks later and was like, can we get lunch? And he said, I've grown this business as far as I feel like I can on my own. And I'm really looking for a partner that understands that growth mentality and can help push me to the next level. So if you're open to it, I would love to partner with you. And I said, well, I have no idea what's going on with my business and I can't do anything until this divorce is over. And he's like, okay, sounds great. I'll talk to you then, kind of thing. And as soon as the divorce ended and all of the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed, and I could start a new agency, I did. And I did it with him. And he handled all of the digital side of the agency while I handled all of the design, branding side of the agency. And we grew it to get into EOA. And I have always wanted to be an EOA, well, EO and EOA. And
Entrepreneurs Organization Accelerator Program, which I did, was great. Yeah.
And while I was in that group, do you want me to now talk about the downfall of that and where?
Sure. Yeah. So
Okay.
this business partner, through this process, I think you realized that you just kind of had different visions of where you wanted to take the company, right?
Correct. We had the same values, different visions. And that really came into play when I was in the EOA program and understanding where you want to take your business. And when we sat down and looked at where we wanted to go, we just had completely different paths. And so the relationship ended with a lot of respect, and I still respect him to this day. And I would work with him. He's an awesome person. And we divided, the business and settled it easily. And our contract was very strict. So it was just, we got it done in a month.
Wow.
And we moved on. And my coach in my group said, Brennah, what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know. I think I'll just do what I'm good at. And he's like, no. Let's see what else there is. Like, the world's your oyster. This is a great moment to pivot. And that's where the Marketing Matchmakers was born. So
you kind of came to this realization that you didn't want to be putting out fires every day, and you liked the process of matching a company with a marketing agency, and then having some kind of like role separate from that, or supervising it, or trying to facilitate it. Explain to me what the vision was.
Yeah. Well, there's businesses out there that help you find agencies. Like, there's a website called Clutch, and Clutch has agencies that you can search and get reviews, but it doesn't help you match to see if it's the right fit for you. And a lot of businesses struggled with closing the deal with agencies because they're unsure. They've been burned so bad. They've spent so much money. They've had promises made to them that were never delivered. And so there's a really bad taste in people's mouth about marketing. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to be the advocate that was there to say, hey, this agency I've worked with, and I know that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And that was where so many people would come to me and say, hey, I need help with this. And I would say, hey, that's not my niche. It's not what I do. And that was kind of what sparked the conversation with my coach. And my coach, it was actually his idea. And he was like, I get this question all the time. Who do I talk to? And so that led to, this needs to be a business. The people need to help businesses find the agency because they spend so much money. And it's so painful to choose the wrong agency.
And how did you develop a process for determining what is a match and what isn't? Did you look at other tools out there? Did you develop your own tool? Did you just kind of like try different things?
Yeah, I honestly, it's more of my knowledge of marketing and understanding people. I pride myself on really understanding people and what they're looking for and asking the right questions. I also have this gift, I'll call it, where people tell me a lot of things out of nowhere, and they're very transparent and just drop it
That could
all
be
on
that
me.
can be dangerous. That could
It
be
is very,
dangerous.
but it's
Yeah.
very helpful with my
Yeah, sure.
job.
Yeah.
And so it allows me to hear what they're saying and kind of dig in. And then I ask more deeper questions to really understand what they're after. They may come to me and say, I'm looking for social media, and my next question is why. And like, well, I want leads. And it's like, okay, but have you thought about lead gen? And what does that look like? And why is social media your answer? And so
Mm.
I really do push to understand, because I don't want them to spend money in something that isn't going to return on investment for them.
Isn't it funny how you can have these realizations about yourself, like this realization that people feel comfortable with me and tell me things that they wouldn't tell someone else, and then you figure out a way to have that, to leverage that in a sense through your business, and it can take people a long time to come to those epiphanies, to realize that about themselves, and two, find a way to work it into their business.
I have to say I've known this for a long time.
Mm.
Since I've been in college. This is just a side story. I was like in a grocery store, and this guy turned around and told me some of his deepest, darkest secrets. And I was like, this is weird. And then I started noticing the pattern of this happening. And so I've known this for a very long time,
Mm.
that I do have this gift, and I do take advantage of it because I want to really help people.
Mm. That's great. That's great. Yeah, and there's lots of other people who probably, equally struggle with getting people to reveal those things and how much easier life would be for them. So let's
Right.
let's talk then a bit about like some of the struggles that companies have when they come to you. I imagine things like been burned before, not sure what to ask these agencies, not sure where to source them, how to supervise them and hold them to certain metrics when we're working with them, what it's like to work with you. Let's talk about some of the things that people have when they come to you.
Everything you said is correct. So, I mean, there are horror stories where I've heard of businesses spending upwards of $2 million with an agency and never seeing anything ever come back to
Wow.
them. I've heard these horror stories over and over and over again. I've heard of project managers that, are see things different politically, and they work with a company that's, views politics different, and that kind of comes into a play when it shouldn't. And I've just seen people be taken advantage of, and that makes me sick to my stomach. And if I know of a situation like that, I will refuse to work with that agency. I also refuse to work with clients that are, what is the right word? That they're just toxic and bullying.
Mm.
I will refuse if I hear of any bad behavior in a client towards an agency, I won't match them again,
Mm.
because there are people that are very horrible to other people and think that they are owed the moon
Mm.
when they are not. So it does go both sides.
Hmm. And then, how did you figure out a business model for yourself? Like, is it a straight commission from the agency so that the company that's hiring you, they don't have to pay anything up front, or do you charge a fee? How does that work?
Yeah. So I don't charge businesses anything to work with me. I am completely free to them. Most marketing companies that are, mature usually have some kind of sales or commission built in to their structure. And
Which they're either paying to their salesperson or they're paying to some other party like yourself.
right. Or, they're paying X amount towards ads
Yeah.
and they have their own marketing budget, and they do put out commissions and sales they might have a sales team.
Yeah.
So I ask for 10% of the lifetime of the client, I don't leave. That's the other thing is I don't just pass off a client to an agency and say like, they're yours. Good luck.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that there's good synergy and it continues to be good synergy. I want to know that that agency is showing up the way that they said they would. I want to know that that client is respectful and getting that agency everything that they need. And I want to know those things because if that agency I want to refer that business to that agency again. But if that client comes back, I want to know that I can actually work with them.
Yeah. And how do you keep tabs on it all? Is it just like, oh, okay, I'll make a reminder in a month, I'll follow up with the client, the company, and follow up with the agency, or do you participate in calls, or does it vary?
I sometimes participate in calls if I need to, but I have a CRM that kind of tracks everything for me and I monitor. And I also have a lot of my clients end up becoming really close to me. And so we will get coffee. We will, I will send them a text message letting them know I think about them. I try really hard to make sure that they know that I'm there for them at all times. So they might get a handwritten letter, just letting them know, and then they'll reach out to me and then we'll kind of touch base. Whatever it is, I try my best to keep the engagement with everybody ongoing. As far as the agencies are concerned, some of them have a few of my clients. So we'll touch base once a month and just see, hey, how's it going? How are they doing? What's going on? Anything new? And it's a pretty quick, easy conversation.
Yeah. And now in the marketing world, and we're recording this in late summer 2025, generative AI is coming along, LLMs, there's just a ton of changing that's happening. So are you finding that you're having to do more education for educating the clients? Are you finding that you're having to do more educating yourself and your team so that you're abreast of all the changes that are happening? How are you keeping tabs on it all?
Well, when I interview the agencies, I kind of ask them what's new, what are they looking at? So I recently I work with an agency often, and that agency, when we spoke, they were telling me of all of the testing that they are doing with AI, what's been working, what they're seeing. They give me so much knowledge, and all I have to do is ask. So I have a few meetings set up with a few agencies just to deep dive on their expertise in the AI world to better understand them and how to pitch their services and what is that looking like. There are some agencies that are not getting on the AI train, and I don't know what's going to happen. I respect their decision as an agency, but depending on what field it is, it could end up hurting them in the long run. I don't know. We don't know. But right. I am staying on top of understanding which agencies are moving with AI and which ones are not.
You definitely do see, like, even over the last 5-10 years, you see certain buzzwords, certain concepts become hot. And, sometimes agencies, maybe they tire of those trends. And so they go the opposite direction. They're like, I'm not going to chase those trends. I'm going to keep on doing what I've been doing all along, type of thing. And then you see other, agencies that are like, well, people are searching for it. They're asking about it. So I'm going to position myself as an expert in it, even if what I'm delivering is not ultimately that much markedly different from what what I would do without this being a popular term. It's definitely, you see different approaches that people take on these things.
I think the biggest struggle that has been hard is tracking what AI is doing in the marketing world. And I think that that's a big topic of conversation that I've been having is how do we track how AI is affecting marketing?
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely evolving. Like I started a small just group of business owners that were tracking these things. And one person recently was sharing what he was doing and the results he was getting from it. And it's like, there's no books written on these things yet. It's
No.
like, to find this knowledge, you either have to find the right community of people that are doing tests, that are experimenting, that are trying to see what's working and what's not, or you pay really close attention to Twitter, or you consume a lot of YouTube content. Like, it's like, it's so quick that it's amazing how these things are changing. It's hard to keep tabs on all that stuff.
Well, and that's why I rely on the experts to teach me.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones digging in and having these conversations with their current clients. They're the ones doing all the testing. They're the ones that are seeing what's happening. So it's
So,
really nice to have that
so then
basically
that
conversation with them.
so then that segues to the idea of setting expectations. If the marketing world is changing so dramatically, how do these companies set realistic expectations of the agencies that are doing the work for them if that world is changing so much?
It's definitely a hard conversation to have as far as what are expectations of agencies and what should you, for example, if you were to hire a ads company, a lot of times they're going to need 3 to 6 months, and some people won't sign on for that long. But to understand that you're going to need 4 months before you even see something, and that's really a hard pill to swallow if you're spending a lot of money. I mean, that's what you should be expecting from the beginning. And then with SEO, there's times that you won't see much happening for 6 months because that's a slow build. And the expectation that you're going to sign up with SEO today and see something happen tomorrow is unrealistic.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. When I was an attorney practicing law, I used to say that you build up the expectation before you close someone as a client. And then once they become a client, you have to immediately lower that expectation, really,
Yeah.
so that you can exceed it later. That's kind of the pattern you have to follow.
Well, and then I think that there's one thing that kind of can hurt certain agencies, just depending on what it is, if the agency has leaders on board, so there's questions that I do ask the agencies about their team and how it's set up, is they have expectations of their team to take on too much work and be the ones looking into the education, and they're not doing it as leaders. And so I like to ask questions about that because I want to know who is the real expert and what are they learning and how are they adapting? And is there too much on their plate that they don't have the capacity to really take on more? Or what does that all look like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You mentioned earlier that when you were running your agency, hair was on fire, you were stressed out. Now it's maybe not on your shoulders because it's the agency ultimately that's responsible. But I imagine there still has got to be times when, some maybe the agency and the business, your client, their relationship is crumbling or they're at dispute over something. Have you found that with this business model, you've been able to get away from the things that were stressing you out before? Or do you still feel like you're exposed to those things?
I am exposed in a totally different way and it's not as stressful. So I'll give you an example. I had a client who they were working with an agency. The agency forwarded me an email out of nowhere from the client and it was very passive aggressive and it was just blindsided. And they called me and said, "Brennah, what do we do with this?" And I was like, "This is really weird." So I end up calling the client and was like, "Hey, how are you?" Not letting them know that I knew about this email. And it turns out the owner of the business died.
Oh,
And the person running the account was overwhelmed, so stressed,
hmm.
was just trying to figure out every fire and close things down, but didn't know what to close, what to keep. And so immediately, once I found this out, I was like, how do I support you? I know the agency, is there for you. Do we need to pause services for the time being? Do we need to scale back until you get everything in order? And she was so grateful to just have that conversation, but she didn't approach it with being transparent of what was going on. And
Yeah.
so I like to provide that transparency on both sides. And as soon as the marketing agency found out what was going on, they sent a very heartfelt email and explained how they were there for them. And it just all got solved. But that was
Yeah.
one way that communication could have just killed the relationship.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a great story. And it's so nice that you were there to help to smooth things over and support the person who was taking over the agency after the owner passed away. This has been great. I want to wrap up with a final question. I'm a big fan of gratitude, especially expressing gratitude to those who've helped you in your journey. And you've mentioned a few people here, like your EOA coach who helped you to figure out what your next chapter would be. Who do you want to acknowledge? Any peers, any contemporaries, any mentors that you would want to shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I've huge shout out to Adam Arkfeld. He was my EOA coach. And then my mentor in EOA was Ed Drummond. He is amazing. And then the person who inspired me to be in the EO world is John Rosenberg. So shout out to all of them. And then, I mean, I have an amazing support system. They all know who they are, and I love them so dearly.
That's great.
So grateful.
And Brennah, you are launching Marketing Unmuted is your new video / podcast series. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I will be launching it with a agency called Unframed Digital, and the owner and I found out that we actually have the same birthday, and it was just out of coincidence.
Weird. Okay.
And it was really awesome, but she owns a digital agency specializing in SEO, so these conversations about the AI world is really awesome. And her and I are going to just talk about a lot of these hot topics of marketing, the expectations, how to pick a marketing partner, what you should be expecting to pay, and the red flags, the green flags on both sides. So we will be having little short spurt videos on LinkedIn talking about all of the different marketing topics. And we're calling it Marketing Unmuted because we want to have those hard conversations.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I've been podcasting for 16 years now, and it is one of the best things I've done in my life, both personally, professionally. It's been such an amazing gift to talk to smart people like yourself and to be able to meet interesting people. The Marketing Matchmakers is themarketingmatchmakers.com. Is that the website?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. You can go check it out there. And Brennah, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it today. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.